The first time she stepped into the freezing surf at Coronado, the instructors barked her name with venom. "Mitchell, you don't belong here. Get out before you embarrass yourself." Every SEAL candidate knew Hell Week was a war of attrition. But for Emily Mitchell, it wasn't just the ocean, the mud, or the endless push-ups, it was the constant reminder that she was different. Out of 200 candidates, she was the only woman. And while others were fighting to prove themselves as future SEALs, Emily was fighting to prove she had any right to even be standing in the sand beside them. Her lungs burned as waves crashed over her. Cold needles shot through her body, but she refused to shiver. The instructors were watching for weakness, ready to call her out, ready to cut her. "Ring the bell," one shouted, pointing at the brass bell that marked voluntary withdrawal. "Do yourself a favor. You'll never make it." But Emily didn't move. She closed her eyes and thought of the rifle rack back home, her father's rifle, the one he'd taught her to use before he passed away. She thought of the hunts where he'd whispered, "Patience wins battles, Em. Not muscle, not ego, patience." That memory kept her in the water until the instructors finally called them back to shore. For weeks, the harassment didn't stop. The men muttered behind her back, "She's dead weight. She'll quit by Friday. She's only here because of politics." And the instructors were worse. They singled her out for extra weight, extra distance, extra humiliation. They told her she'd never carry a teammate on her back. That she couldn't climb the wall fast enough. That she'd never pass the live fire stress tests. But Emily had something most of them didn't. Scars the instructors couldn't see. Before she ever set foot in SEAL training, Emily had already lived through hell. She had been a Marine Corps sniper in Afghanistan. For 2 years, she'd operated in silence on rooftops, in mountain passes, and in villages where every shadow could hide an IED. While others learned marksmanship in training, Emily had learned it with her life on the line, with friends bleeding out beside her. Her rifle bore notches, not of pride, but of survival. 47 confirmed kills. 47 times she had steadied her breath, aligned her crosshairs, and chosen duty over hesitation. 47 enemies who would never ambush her squad, never plant another bomb, never take another life. But Emily never talked about it. SEAL training was supposed to be her new chapter. Her chance to prove she could stand not just as a sniper, but as a warrior who could endure the worst the Navy demanded. Still, whispers spread. Some of the men knew her record. Some didn't believe it, and some just hated her for it. The breaking point came during a night exercise. The candidates were ordered to crawl through the swamp, rifles in the muck, packs heavy with sand. Emily was halfway through when an instructor stopped her. "Mitchell," he said, his voice cold. "You've been holding up this class since day one. You're dragging men who could actually be SEALs. Do yourself a favor, quit. We don't need you." The swamp went silent. The other candidates froze, waiting for her to crack, to cry, to give up. Even the moon seemed to pause above the water. Emily stared at the instructor, mud dripping down her face. And for the first time, her voice didn't tremble. "You don't need me," she said softly. "But you don't know me." She finished the course that night without saying another word. The next morning, during marksmanship drills, the truth came out. Each candidate was handed a rifle and ordered to hit a series of distant targets under time pressure. Most of the men struggled with wind calls and precision. A few hit consistently. Then it was Emily's turn. She dropped into position, exhaled, and squeezed the trigger. One target fell, then another, and another. The spotter muttered numbers under his breath as her rounds hit steel plates beyond 1,000 meters, each faster than the last. By the time she was done, the range had gone silent. The instructors weren't laughing anymore. Instead, one of them looked at her rifle log, flipping through the pages. His face changed. His voice lowered. 47, he whispered. Another instructor leaned over his shoulder. Then another. And soon, the whispers spread down the line. Every man in that training class heard the number. Her confirmed kill count. The ones who had mocked her were now staring at her rifle as if it carried a ghost. The ones who doubted her now looked at her with something close to fear. The swamp, the push-ups, the insults, all of it faded under the weight of the truth. Emily Mitchell wasn't there because of politics. She wasn't there to prove a point. She was there because she had already lived the life they were still training for. From that day forward, the instructors never told her to quit again. They still pushed her, still tested her, still made her life hell, but the silence of their judgment had shifted into something new: respect. She became a quiet leader among the candidates. When men broke under pressure, she carried their packs. When exhaustion blurred their vision, she whispered the words her father had once told her: patience wins battles. She didn't need to be the loudest. She didn't need to prove her worth every second. She let her actions speak. And slowly, even the men who once mocked her began to follow her lead. Graduation day came months later. Emily stood in formation, battered, scarred, and leaner than ever. The instructors moved down the line, handing out tridents, the golden insignia of a Navy SEAL. When they reached her, there was no speech, no smirk, no reminder of the bell she never rang. Just a silent nod as they pinned the trident to her chest. As she looked around at the men beside her, Emily realized something important. Her fight had never been against them. It had never been against the instructors, or even the doubts they cast on her. Her fight was against the silence of those who never believed, the silence that comes when the world waits for you to fail. And in that silence, Emily had written her own story with every breath, every step, every pull of the trigger. The pin felt heavier than she expected. The golden trident rested against her chest, gleaming under the California sun, but it wasn't just a piece of metal. It was a declaration. Emily Mitchell was no longer the candidate everyone doubted. She was a SEAL. The men beside her slapped her on the back, some still hesitant, others with genuine pride. But Emily didn't celebrate. In her mind, the ceremony was just the beginning. She knew the real test wasn't surviving training, it was surviving the battlefield. Her first deployment came sooner than anyone expected. A joint operation in the Middle East, classified, dangerous, and unpredictable. The team was inserted under cover of night, tasked with eliminating a high-value target buried deep in a hostile city. It was the kind of mission where one wrong step meant body bags. From the moment she boarded the helo, Emily felt the eyes on her. Not hostile, but watchful. Her teammates wanted to see if she could handle it. Not the push-ups, not the cold surf, but the chaos of combat. She strapped in, checked her rifle, and waited. When they hit the ground, the air smelled of dust and burned oil. The streets were quiet, too quiet. They moved fast, clearing building after building, whispers crackling in their radios. But then the silence broke. A shot rang out, then another. The team was pinned down in an alley, bullets snapping off the walls like hornets. "Sniper!" someone yelled. The men ducked, searching for cover. The angle was perfect for an ambush. They couldn't see where the shots were coming from. Panic edged into their voices. And then Emily moved, calm, precise. She crawled toward the corner, laid her rifle across a pile of rubble, and exhaled. Her world narrowed to the scope. Wind, distance, light. She calculated in seconds what others couldn't in minutes. The glint of glass flickered from a rooftop. She steadied, squeezed. One shot. The enemy sniper fell. The alley went silent again, except for the pounding of her teammates' hearts. Someone whispered, "Damn." For the rest of that mission, no one questioned her place. But Emily's story didn't stop at one mission. Over the next year, she became the team's quiet anchor. She wasn't the loudest, wasn't the strongest, but when chaos erupted, she was the steady hand everyone leaned on. Her confirmed kills grew, not because she sought them, but because she was often the only line between her team and disaster. 20 more, 30 more. She stopped counting at some point, but the others didn't. They saw what she carried, and they never forgot the silence of that first day on the range. Still, the weight of it all pressed down on her. Every mission meant lives taken. Every shot meant another scar no one could see. Some nights, she lay awake in the barracks, staring at the ceiling, hearing her father's voice: "Patience wins battles." But patience didn't heal wounds. It didn't erase the faces of those she had taken down. One night, after a long mission, her teammate Rodriguez sat beside her. He had been one of the loudest voices against her in training, the one who said she'd never make it. Now, his voice was quiet. "You saved us out there," he said. Again. I don't know how you keep doing it. Emily didn't answer right away. She just looked at her hands, calloused and scarred. Because I have to, she finally said. Not for me, for you, for all of us. For the first time, Rodriguez nodded without hesitation. It wasn't just respect anymore. It was trust. Months later, Emily faced her hardest mission yet. Intelligence pointed to a compound where hostages were being held. The team had to breach, clear, and rescue before sunrise. But as soon as they landed, everything went wrong. Explosions ripped through the night. The team was split, communications went down, and in the chaos, Emily found herself with only 2 teammates, cut off from the rest. They stumbled onto the compound's edge, hearing muffled cries inside. Hostages. They couldn't wait. If they did, everyone inside would die. Rodriguez looked at her. Your call. Emily's heart pounded. This was the moment. No instructors, no whispers, no doubt. Just her rifle, and the weight of every life in that building. She raised her scope, scanning windows, counting guards, tracking movements. Every decision had to be perfect. 3 shots. 3 guards down. She led her teammates inside, clearing room after room with calm precision. They found the hostages, frightened, injured, but alive. And when they finally broke free of the compound, Emily was the one carrying a little girl in her arms, shielding her from the chaos. The helo blades roared above them as they lifted off, leaving fire and smoke behind. For the first time in years, Emily smiled, not for herself, but for the lives she had helped save. When they returned, the commander addressed the team. His words were short, but everyone felt their weight. Tonight, you all proved why you're SEALs. And Mitchell, he paused, locking eyes with her. You proved why no one ever tells you to leave again. The room fell silent, but this time, it wasn't doubt. It was pride. The message of her journey grew clearer. It wasn't just about a kill count. It wasn't about proving herself through numbers or medals. It was about showing the world, and herself, that belonging isn't given. It's earned, over and over again, in silence, in sacrifice, and in the choices no one else can make. Emily Mitchell had walked into SEAL training as an outsider. But she walked out as something more than a soldier, more than a sniper, more than a SEAL. She walked out as a reminder that strength is not about who doubts you. It's about who you refuse to let down.